Thank you so much, Frank, for your time and pleasure to have you.
My pleasure. It's always great to speak with people in the wider network and also to spread the message of the good news which we have.
I mean, it's great. We're always delighted to be connected with the people that are creating impacts and helping entrepreneurs and startups. And obviously, you're one of that ecosystem players. So tell us what you do at European Space Agency and with the space startups.
Yeah, thank you so much. And maybe I go a little bit into the history because you have to understand the past to see what is the impact of today and maybe the future. So 16 years ago was taking over the tech transfer office and supporting spin-offs from space is one thing, and IP and especially interdisciplinary transfers, you know, from space to agriculture to even the Vatican is using a data format which we jointly developed with NASA about the star mats. But then we said, okay, and I had my own startup company myself before I joined ESA, and I worked for Apple Computers. So we said, why not really supporting startups using our space assets, technology, and know-how, and but focusing on the stuff which we as an agency are good, and add the elements of the regions, of regional partners, and help really, like I always saying, like a good uncle or a good aunt. And this is what we did. We support startups very, very early, just when they create a company. And we select like we do in VCs do. So we're looking to the team, to the team, to the team, then to the business case, then to the business model, and then we looked at the technology because they are smart people across. And so we started 16 years ago with the first incubation center that was in Noordwijk in the Netherlands, where we have our technology center. And over the last 15 years, we're growing quite well, flying also below the radar, like you do it with startups, and also have the understanding, not only in the technology. So we chip in between 50,000 euros and 250,000 euros, but we don't take shares. So we leave that to the startup companies. We do that by procurement. So we started, I think, in the first year with 8 companies. Over the last 15 years, we have now 23 incubation centers and 66 locations. We supported over 1,200 startups. Average now, the runway is about 220 startup companies a year. And this we do across the ESA member states with international partners and always with the local ecosystem. So in Switzerland, our partner is the ETH Zurich. In the UK, it's SDFC, a big research organization. So we always say where we really do the difference, because my family comes from the mountains, from the Alps, and we have a saying there: if you need a glass of milk, you don't have to buy a cow. So we really focus where we make the difference. And now I think we had about 700, 800 million in 1 year invested in the startup companies we once supported. So we try to help them as long as they need us. Yeah, and so it's a 2 years program, and over the last 1.5 decades, I think we created the world's biggest space-related entrepreneurship network together with the partners. It's not our success; it's the team and the partners.
Right. So basically, you take care of them for a lifetime, just like becoming a parent.
Well, maybe not parent, because then you have more roles. I would say a good father, good mother, but this is, I think, what you have to support the entire innovation funnel from the idea generation until they fly. And it's very truly what you said. It's similar like a parent. I say your aunt, and if you do everything right, you get your Hanukkah, your Christmas, your Ramadan card, the Chinese New Year card, to be totally politically correct. And then if our companies write that after 5 years, well, I would not be there, or we would be not there without your help, then I think we have done everything right.
But perhaps it's because the space, obviously, industry is different. I mean, it hasn't been scaled up to like the other industries that we see, for example, in healthcare, in IT, in IoT, in financial industry, and everything. Perhaps, I mean, now we can see the space commercialization is taking up, different technologies being kind of like merging. That is kind of like enabling different industries to get involved. Like you mentioned agriculture, and now we see there's so many startups are entering into this ecosystem that they're actually combining space economy and space kind of like applications and tools and different
And I
methods
think it's a very good point which you make, because most of the people, they only see astronauts, yeah, which is great. That's the reason why I joined ESA, working with all the astronauts, cosmonauts, tigonauts, and or the rocket industry, the launchers. But space is so much more. You know, space is building the infrastructure for our digital economy, or the backbone for our digital economy. It's
Yeah.
navigation, it's Earth observation, and do not forget telecommunication, which I think will be becoming the next big thing.
And even like internet, well, with the Starlink, for example, like enabling people around the world to have access to the internet from anywhere, in Africa, or like very, kind of like remote places on Earth to have access to the internet. Perhaps
Correct.
it's very enabling. So is this only throughout the Europe that program is supporting the startups, or is it kind of like
Yeah, it's similar like now our NASA colleagues is doing. They focus on their member states. However, as our job is really to support industry, our incubation centers, which are always co-funded by the region. I think ESA chips only in 40%. The rest of the 60% comes from the regions, and therefore our regions are doing cooperation. So we're just discussing with the UK, which is still of course, one of member states. They're shopping for signing international collaborations, and I'm sitting on the board of the incubation center in Singapore. We work closely in a collaboration with our good colleagues in the Israeli Space Agency, and since 3 years we help them with their startup program. So of course it's on internationalization, but we cannot spend money there. But what we do is a connection, and this I really like, because that's the idea about the aunt and the uncle. Because if you go to Asia, if you go to Europe, how amazing is it to have a friend there, somebody of your family, which is the safe haven, the soft landing, which you say, I go there first because this person or this lady will not cheat me, because they do something similar what we do. So I believe strongly in this internationalization, and a lot of startup companies, sorry to say that so bluntly, get ripped off by consultants. They suck the little blood out of out our startup companies in the early stage, which they don't have enough blood for themselves. So our vision is there to support really international network, which it's a good start. It's the bridge to a country. They know the local players. They know also the right people, and they give you the first start and open the doors. I think when you're a student, this is you when you go across Europe. Okay, in my family I know there.
just a
So, and
mentorship?
one thing, yes, more than a mentorship, because I really want that you get um, I don't know what is the right YMCA is maybe not the right thing.
Mhm.
Something which is safe, and
Mhm.
they do similar stuff, and we want to connect incubation hubs across the world,
Okay.
and because this makes it sustainable. At one point, your connectivity, there are more company than Starlink doing that. Huh?
Of
So
course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It was just a big example. I
yeah.
apologize for
No, that's fine.
having
But this
being
is super
blindsided.
important, because this is what is the future of connectivity. It
This it is.
brings and Nicholas Negroponte, the founder of the MIT Media Lab, and I remember when we were on the event together in the 90s, where I still was with Apple. He recently said that internet connection is a human right. And I think this brings education, that brings out of poverty, it collects the last billions, and it will also bring democracy in areas in the world which peacefully
Mhm.
and will change the society.
That's great, which actually leads me to the next point, is that since you work in this industry with the startups, and like obviously space is one of the most difficult industries, right? What are the hurdles that you are kind of like seeing for startups, and what are the solutions that you're offering for those startups to play in this industry or ecosystem?
Pardon, there was a break in the line. If you do not mind to repeat the last minute, half
Uh,
minute. So
sure.
what we
So
offer to them?
what do you offer? What are the hurdles in the industry? Like becoming kind of like an founder in the space,
Yeah.
and
So
what solutions do you offer?
it's an excellent question, and I think I go back to the beginning when we said it depends very much on the startup company. So we help them they have to create a company. They get a ESA contract. So what we do with them is procure. We give them a little bit cash, but most of the company are not coming for the cash. They're coming for the address book, where we even created a program I called the Wingman program. So where we do the introduction to the big corporates, because if you are 4 girl, 3 guys, or mixed companies, and you want to knock on the doors of the big corporates, that's really a tough one. They don't open the doors. Not everybody is open, maybe like Google is and other companies. So we help them to connect to the first, second, third customers, to the venture capitalists, to our labs, to our entire network. And I take only example: if you need your own semiconductor, then it's very easy, because via Fraunhofer and IMEC, you go on the outside of one wafer production, and then for 3K you have your own chip. So you really leverage on the wider network. Uh, um, I always explain it's like similar like the church, everywhere they preach the word of the Lord. So you use the wider network also of your partners. The Irish is a saying that they say, on the shoulders of the giants you see further. So what we want to be the giants for our young kids. And if they fall, we say them, well, stand up again. It's like going the first time with the bicycle. You need somebody who encouraged you and say, hey, it's normal that you fall. It's the same with skiing, ice skating, and or swimming. You will swallow some water. So this is what we want to be, and we also attract other giants to join us. So because this is what the companies really need, is the coaching, is the business coaching. Technology-wise, they're not so bad. And I think none of our companies have a technology issue. So it's more holistic. It depends on also the maturity level. Later, we speak sometimes in investors and explain the business model even of the startup companies to the investors and assure them. And the ESA brand is pretty powerful for that.
Of course. So how do you find these startups, or how do they find you?
Yeah, I think the good thing is in the beginning it was a hidden secret, but we have idea competitions like Act in Space, which is where we junior partner of the French space agencies across the world. We have prizes we call the Galileo Master, Copernicus Masters. So deal flow at the moment is not the really issue. And then we always connect to the local ecosystem, to the universities, to the research centers. So at the moment, to be honest, they find us, and the best advertisement is the advertisement of the existing startup companies. When they say, well, this was really a program, helped me over years, and I still have somebody to call when I do not know what is the next step.
Right.
So I think this is something, therefore I'm not a big fan of Accelerator, which just launched 3 months. Good companies take sometimes a decade. Hardware is hard. Yeah, rocket launchers are not an easy software product you just launch in 3 quarters. So therefore, you need a little bit of longer view, and I think that makes it also sustainable.
And what are the companies, the portfolios that you have that are standing out mostly? I know all of them are standing out, but which ones are much more impactful?
I think this is one of my favorite ones at the moment, because it's Lilium Aviation. They make electrical taxi, pure vertical starting. They're about 700 people now at the moment. They're planning to have their Spark on the Nasdaq in October. And then a lot of people say, okay, what has that to do with space? It was the lightweight production. It's the autonomous flying. It's the flight corridors, the aerospace Gulf. So we have navigation, telecommunication, battery management. So there's a lot of things. And why I like that, because, and this is the reason why I take it, there was a local cluster for aviation industry, and they have not accepted them. And these 4 poor boys were really frustrated. They were coming to our selection board, not having the idea that we really will take them. And they made an amazing pitch with just some drawing and a super small prototype. And then we had even discussion, because they said, we want to make competition to Airbus and Boeing. And there were people in the board saying, why we should take them, they will fail. And I said, if we do not help them, who else does? That's our job, to increase the likelihood of it's their success, not our success. So who we are to say no? And now Mr. Enders, which was the boss of Airbus, is on the board of this company. Yeah, so it took only, I think, 5 years, 6 years. So, and I think this is what it's about. So we have to increase the likelihood, and I think our survival rate after 5 years around 80%, which I think is much too high. So, but because the people, the teams, and this is how what we select, I think that's good. So this is why it's outstanding. We have rocket companies. We have one company which was a startup company, less than 1 million business angel invest, Clear Space, and they were winning a $100 million contract from ESA. So now Airbus are the subcontractor of the startup company. So things are changing, and you have to. In evolution, there's two ways: either evolve or die out. Yeah, and I think we want to be on the evolution side, where nature, and you don't try to cheat nature. This will never work.
That's exactly what it is. So you've been in this industry more than a decade, right? So how do you compare, for example, 10 years ago to today's space economy? Obviously, with all this is that actually happening. I mean, all these like adventures, like space travels and everything that we see specifically 2021.
There was never more money in the market than now. We don't have to trust me. 15 years ago, when we explained space to venture capitalists, you were the alien. You trust me, you were more than the alien. Yeah,
You
you
would
were
laugh
the
that, of
crazy.
course. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, you were the crazy alien. So I think this has changed. And I remember that Nicholas Negroponte once said
And
to me,
why? Why do you think
yeah,
the
because 15 years, 20 years ago, entrepreneurship means unemployment. Now entrepreneurship is on vogue. It's hot. It's amazing. The people don't go to the big corporates. They create a startup company. Now everybody has understood that between doing nothing and purchasing is a startup company, they're not two, they're 350 shades of gray. So because they can take more risks, so also industry is changing. They say, well, it's not a threat. It could be an opportunity to work with startup, like Procter and Gamble is doing, like Google is doing. So I think this is people realize that if it's a threat, if I do not do anything, yeah, because then maybe nature wipes me away like Kodak. So there's money. People really like to do these things. So and when we go back in history, a lot of companies look to Apple, look to Microsoft, look to Dell, look to Andy von Bechtolzheimer with Sun. There were always entrepreneurship doing the things. Maybe it was a little bit more for in the last couple of decades, focused also to the US, but if you're looking to the pricing you have for a young engineer in the Silicon Valley space related, trust me, you get an army of people, as same education, at least at the same, if not better, I would say, in Portugal. So I think it's also the eagerness, the hunger, the curiosity, which is now in the field. And you always have to create the first 5 people in the queue, and then more will be queue. So I think that has changed. So now we have a movement, and there will be a bubble, or there will be a crisis. So what? But now this avalanche has started, and it will be not so easy to be stopped, because without space, none of our problems which we have on the Earth will be solved. Earth
well, this is
observation is the X-ray for the doctor, humankind, for the patient Earth. Yeah, without Earth observation, we will not even know that we have a climate crisis.
right.
So, and I think it will also contribute to the solutions.
Well, that's very inspiring. And last question is, what is your message to the entrepreneurs and space founders
Yeah, I
that are
think
seeking
I,
advice?
my problem is rather I'm doing that sound the same 16 years. So and I'm in the process even to give that part of my family away, so that you learn as an uncle, as a mother. Sometimes you have to let it go. So the question is, what is the next big thing? So, and I believe it will be telecommunication. You have 300 satellites Earth observation. You have 50,000 for communication. So there will be no 5G, 6G, IoT without telecommunication. And it will come all from space, because the satellite dishes we have on our houses, that's the telecommunication industry of space of the last millennium. The future will be different. Will be the
Mhm.
driving connected cars, IoT devices, and everywhere. And then we're back, as you said, bringing the connectivity to the last missing billions, which do not have a connection, which are the blind spots on our Earth. And I think that we have to change. And that will be an amazing revolution. And this will drive digitalization.
Well, Godspeed to you, and thank you so much for creating this huge impact.
No, that's just my job. I'm the worker, the vineyard of the Lord.
Thank you.